Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we are starting chapter number 4. So we just finished chapter number 3. So let's see the connection between the chapter number 3 and chapter number 4. So in chapter number 3, Krishna explained that lust covers knowledge and that ignorance binds us to the material world. So this is very important takeaway from chapter number 3. So the real enemy is the lust. And what lust does? It covers our knowledge. And because of that, what happens? There is ignorance. And this ignorance basically binds us to the material world. And then we see that we have to do a dutiful work with detachment. So that is whole thing about Karma Yoga. So you see that chapter 1 to chapter 6 is totally describing about the Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga is nothing but giving up the attachment and attaining the transcendental knowledge. So the essence here is attaining the transcendental knowledge. What is transcendental knowledge? It is nothing but the Divya Gyan. Right? It is the transcendental knowledge. So if you see in this chapter number 3 glorifies transcendental knowledge. And what happens? It elevates us from Sakama Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga. So very important, it elevates us. So very important takeaway is that when we are trying to read, understand, and hear this Karma Yoga, we have to see that it elevates us from Sakam Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga. So means so far you are doing all the duties with attachments. And then understanding this transcendental knowledge, you are actually elevating yourself to Nishkam Karma Yoga, where you are doing your duty without any material greed. So being able to evolve our intelligence, the strength to overcome all the lusty desires. So basically, when your attachment starts, when you have this lusty desires. So when you get this intelligence, you power it with your strength to overcome all these lusty desires. So that is why this transcendental knowledge is very important. Then what else? So having the power to purify our consciousness from passion to goodness. So we have understood before that there are 3 kind of material mode of nature which everybody have: Tamoguna, Rajaguna, and Satoguna. Right? So when you get this power of this transcendental knowledge, your internal consciousness is actually getting purified. And from this passionate state, you are going towards the mode of goodness. So you are basically, that is why it is called as Krishna consciousness, because you are purifying your consciousness, your antaratma, what you call, you are actually purifying it. So the way what we do is we have our clothes, when we wash our clothes, what happens? So there is dirt in that, right? And then we take some detergent or soap, we wash it with it so that the dirt gets purified, clarified, and the cloth become neat and clean. So that is how we have to giving dose to our soul, where it purifies our consciousness from passionate mode. So passionate mode is when people are in complete lusty desire, isn't it? So all people are, because of some motives, they become passionate. The more you get passionate, you are more determined to achieve that material thing. But we have to get detached with that, because as we have seen that these lusty desires are the enemy of everything. So we are purifying from that passionate state to goodness. So this is all about chapter 3, what we have learned. Now in chapter number 4, it is emphasizing, it is giving stress on what is transcendental knowledge and how to receive it. Now also if you see in Bhagavad-gītā chapter number 30, chapter number 3, slok number 30, it is mentioned that to perform the highest level of karma yoga, surrender all work to Krishna. Right? Now, this saying is very easy, ki surrender everything to Krishna. But so far we are actually surrendering everything to our desires, right? Because of our desire, we are doing every activity. Now, suddenly, if somebody says, you surrender all your work to Krishna, then is it easy to do that? It is not easy, right? First, you have to know that person. You have to know the person. You have to believe in that person. That is what happens, right? When you make your friends, when you go outside in your office or neighbors, when you make your friends, first day you don't believe in that person. First, you try to know him in and out. You try to gain a trust. Then you start believing him. Then you kind of surrendering him. You can do anything for him depending on how well is your bonding. So similarly, if you want to surrender to Krishna, you have to know him properly. And this chapter number 4 actually provide you this knowledge. So if you see in chapter number 3, also Arjuna is asking one very important question. What is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? That means some force is there. See, whether we want it or not, we sometimes do some sinful activities. And sometimes we know that it is wrong, still some force is there which is compelling us. To do that sinful activity. So for that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is the lust only. So lust is only the greatest enemy which is actually doing it. So far, chapter 3 described about all this. Now, to solve this problem, in chapter number 4, to solve this issue, how to overcome this lust, how to overcome this greatest enemy, Lord is giving us 3-step formula. So we have to be very carefully understand this. What is this 3-step formula? So we'll see what is this 3-step formula. So number 1, identify all the places enemy has occupied. So Lord is giving the first step. What is this first step? Identify all the places where this enemy has occupied. So where this enemy has occupied, do we know where these places, where are these the places where this enemy called lust has occupied? So it is nothing outside. That is why it says your enemy is not outside, it is within, inside. So these three places is Indriya, Man and Buddhi. So Indriya is what? Senses, our senses. And then Man Buddhi is mind and intelligence. And the second step, Lord is telling that this mind and intelligence cannot be controlled. So he is clearly telling, Lord is clearly telling us, you cannot control this mind and intelligence. So focus where? So you have to focus or regulate these senses. Because mind and intelligence cannot be controlled so easily. And then third step, he is telling, power your mind with transcendental knowledge. So that is where we are coming to this fourth chapter. Because what happens? Your mind has to be powered with this transcendental knowledge. Then you will be able to. So what happens when you have some knowledge, then only you will be able to do some work, right? Without knowledge, how you will perform some work? That is why Lord is focusing. You power your mind with this transcendental knowledge, which I am giving now. Then you can control your enemy. So there he is telling you regulate your senses, because mind and intelligence you can power with knowledge, but it is not easy to control. So in chapter number 4, we are seeing what is transcendental knowledge, and second, how to get this trans. So when you see this shlok number 1, so in shlok number 1, we can see in the slide, Lord is saying, Shri Bhagavan Vacha imam vivasvate yogam proktavam aham avyayam vivasvanamanve praha manu ikshvakve abravita. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ishvaku. So now if you see in this first sloka of chapter number 4, Lord is giving the history of Bhagavad-gītā. Complete. What is the complete history of Bhagavad-gītā? Lord is saying, Arjun, this Bhagavad-gītā knowledge, first I gave it to Sun God. Who is Sun God? He is Vivaswan. And from that, it went to Manu. And from that, it went to the king Ikshvaku. So like that, if you see, it went to disciplic succession, generation after generation. So if you see, this is called as parampara system, where the actual originator is nothing but Lord himself. He gave it to sun god, then Manu, and then Ikshvaku, right? And then if you see the shlok number 2, here it is saying, Ivam parampara praptam imam rajya rishya vido sa kalena iya mahata yoga nashta param tapa. And the translation, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So you see here, Lord is clearly saying Bhagavad-gītā as science. It is not a philosophy, it is a science. And what happens? So it is, this knowledge can be acquired by disciplic succession. It is very important to understand it is acquired by disciplic succession. That is, parampara system, it will be acquired in succession. But what happens? But because of the kala, this chain is broken. What is kala? Kala is nothing but time. So because of kala, this chain of giving knowledge is broken somewhere. And thus the knowledge transfer of Bhagavad-gītā is broken. So that is why now Lord is giving, again he started this, he is continuing this knowledge transfer chain by giving this knowledge to Arjuna. And he is telling this in shlok number 3rd. He is telling this in shlok number, next shlok, that is shlok number 3rd. So in this second shlok, Lord is telling, I myself is the originator of this knowledge. So Lord himself is declaring this. Nobody else has given this knowledge, but I am the actual originator. I am the actual writer of this knowledge. So Lord is actually having the copyright. So to educate this spiritual knowledge, either I or my student give this knowledge. So that is how it goes on generation after generation. Now one may think and he may ask, can't I have my brain and intelligence to learn this myself? Why should I accept a Guru Parampara system for this? I have enough intelligence and knowledge. I can, go and read this book and get this knowledge. Why should I need a Guru and this Parampara system to know this knowledge? So it is said that Parampara is required for 2 reasons. Why we have to follow this Parampara is because the Parampara is required for 2 reasons. So Lord who has created this is the best person to know the meaning of this. So we agree that the person who created, the person who has created this knowledge, he is the best person. So you assume that there is some product, right? Any product, let's say a TV, washing machine or whatever. The person who has developed it, who is the originator of it, he is the best person to know about it, how to approach, how to regulate or how to use it. He is the best person. So that is why the Parampara system is very important. So when we get this knowledge from our Guru, then what happens? The meaning will be intact, right? So this is what happens. If you are ignoring this Parampara system, that is why if you see, there is a Parampara system developed where the knowledge is right away coming from the Lord. So if you try to take this knowledge from anybody, that we see in the following going forward also, when this knowledge is taking, if we take this gyan or knowledge from anybody, what happens? There is a consequences. So if the parampara is broken, then the actual essence of this knowledge will be destroyed. So now you may think whether it is possible that this knowledge is destroyed. So how this knowledge can be destroyed, you may think, but think it like this. In this today's society, what happens? If you see in present society, there are more than 500 different version of Bhagavad-gītā commentary. And people, many self-claimed gurus, they are having their own Bhagavad-gītā commentary, and people are following them. So what happens because of that? So they give their own versions, and because of this knowledge gets destroyed. So how we know that when it goes through from different unauthorized people, this knowledge gets destroyed? So what happens is, the best way to identify is that how many people are there, you have to see, who are transformed after hearing or reading this Bhagavad-gītā. So this is the best way to check, or you can say it is a lab test. We do our blood test, right, in the lab to check whether the things are genuine or proper or not. So like that, you have to see that person who have get this knowledge, whether this person has transformed after hearing and reading this Bhagavad-gītā. We also have to ask ourselves whether we got the transformation. So what is the importance of reading Bhagavad-gītā? If a person read Bhagavad-gītā, his inner anger can be transferred into love. So like that, it can actually transform the complete society. So if you see earlier time, the kings are known as Rajarishi. Why they used to called as Rajarishi? Later, if you see, they were called as only Raja. But before Rajas or kings, they used to be called as Rajarishi, because they are not only kings, they were also rishis who were having this knowledge from the parampara system. And they used to transfer this knowledge to the complete kingdoms. So that is the whole point. You have to take it from this parampara system. If you are not taking this Bhagavad-gītā knowledge from parampara system, then you are actually getting misguided. And the best way to understand is, you have to see whether have you changed from internally after reading Bhagavad-gītā, whether there is a transformation inside you. So when these things start happening in the society, what happens? Instead of this violence, anger and all, people get transformed into love. So if after reading Bhagavad-gītā, there is no change in that person, that means he has not properly studied Bhagavad-gītā. It is as simple as that. The person has not studied Bhagavad-gītā. So now the thing is, why everyone will get transformed after Bhagavad-gītā? So Lord says, everyone have soul inside his body. So you can say body is like a vehicle and driver is Jeev. Correct? We are nothing but Jeev. And what is the relation of this Jeev with Lord? The relation is Nityadas. So eternal servant. So we are Jeev and there is Lord, and our relation with the Lord is we are eternal servant of Lord. That is Nityadas. And then what we have relation, what Jeev have relation with other Jeev? So with other Jivas, we have relation of brother and sister. So that is why, if you see, in Shastra, it is told as Vasudeva Kutumbaka. Vasudeva Kutumbaka. So that means the whole universe is my family. The whole, if you see, normally we say, so we assume that our family is within your parents, your kids, your spouse. We consider that as our family, but actually, Shastra says, this whole universe is my family. That is what Lord is giving us the knowledge. So if you get this knowledge, then what happens? You will be having friendship with everyone. You will not start fighting. Today, if you see everybody is fighting, Ukraine is fighting with Russia, Israel is fighting with Palestine. Every person is fighting with each another. So one person actually has done it. Who has done it? Can anybody say? One person has actually, so only pure devotee can do that. He can actually take this knowledge, he can, and transform it into, complete, consider this whole universe as his family and start transforming it into that. So one person actually practically has done it. Who is that person?
Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. Very nice. Kalyani Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. So one person only has done it at the age of 70. At the age of 70, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 70, he went to foreign land and struggled alone. And he started this movement from America and spread it and took it to whole world. And what we see that within 12 years, he opened 108 temples. If you try to open one temple, it is so difficult. To maintain one temple is so difficult. And age of 70 and within 12 years, and that too went to foreign land, struggling so hard, he has done it. He told the people that this whole universe is one family. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So that is about these two slokas, first two slokas. So I will stop it here. We'll see from third sloka what knowledge Lord is giving. So any additions or any doubts and clarification, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Sumantra Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Amrita Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Kalyani Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat